Every character has the ability to have a chance at knowing how to first aid, bind wounds, set broken bones, and of course, I'm also going to explain how healing spells can solve and create more problems in the game of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Every character has some chance of learning to bind wounds, but only barbarians get first aid as listed and described in Unearthed Arcana. First aid allows the rugged barbarian to, quote, bind wounds, set sprains, and set broken bones. That it does say in Unearthed Arcana. Binding wounds. Each character at start has a 1 through 7 in 12 on a die 12 of knowing how to bind wounds. To do this, again, this is my formula. You might come up with something different, like say per character class, but this is just a hard and fast rule in my game. Eventually, you're going to get probably 50% of the party that knows how to bind wounds. Anyway, each character at start has a 1 through 7 in 12 chance of knowing how to bind wounds. To do this, the barbarian or other PC must have a clean gauze or cloth to staunch the bleeding of a dying comrade. What this means is that when a character or other creature, through cuts, stab wounds, fang bites, dismembered limb, is at -1 to -9, and if enough time to bind the wounds is possible, this would be 1 die 3 rounds, the bleeding stops and the injured stabilizes and rises to 0 hit points. The 0 hit point character is then in a coma for 1 to 6 turns. That's 10 to 60 minutes. After this time, again, this is what the Dungeon Master Guide says. After this time, he or she gains 1 hit point. If the character reached -6 or worse, they must rest in bed for a week. Binding wounds. Binding wounds is automatic unless broken bones or other types of damage is involved. The powerful heal spell, it's a 6th level spell, perfectly heals most ills, broken bones, disease, blindness, feeble mind, stunning, and any bed rest or coma penalties listed above. Otherwise, if the player character did not get bind wounds for free at character creation, then he may buy it for 1 non-weapon proficiency slot. Again, that's in my game. If 2 slots are used, then the character who has bind wounds can now set broken bones. So a total of 2 or 3 slots has now been used, depending if you had to buy bind wounds with broken bones. We're going to call this improved bind wounds. Okay. Trying to set a broken bone without this skill requires a wisdom check at a +5 penalty. Each failed attempt causes 2 die 4 points of damage to the victim as you're moving bones around under the flesh. Okay, first aid, broken bones, bind wounds, and healing spells. Setting broken bones. This is more complicated than one would think, for there are 7 or 8 different kinds of fractures. To keep things simple, we will say that the barbarian, healer, or character with improved bind wounds could set 80% of all types of broken bones, even a compound fracture where the bone sticks out through the muscle and skin. However, to fix this kind of break requires the victim to suffer an additional 1 die 6 damage as the bones are forced back together. Identifying broken bones. Anyone who has improved bind wounds or first aid, the barbarian, the healing or herbalism non-weapon proficiencies can be identified with a simple ability wisdom check or proficiency roll. How did I even get a broken bone? House rule. Again, this is my game. You don't have to do any of this. House rule. Any powerful strike, a critical hit by a giant with 20 plus strength, a fall greater than 40 feet, 20 plus hit points of crushing damage by rock, huge beast atop a character, etc. Armor, shield, equipment, weapon, chance for destruction. Save for crushing blows 50% or 50% constitution check or broken bones roll location. So this is how I do it. Whenever there's a massive strike on a character, say it does 20 plus damage, and I know the characters can cause over 20 points of damage, say with a couple hits, but we're not talking about that because each hit usually does separate damage. But a giant, say, scoring a hit and doing, in our game, I don't know again what your game does, we give out maximum damage from hits that are critical hits. So if a fighter gets a critical hit in my game, he scores like the full, say, 12 points of damage with his longsword, plus whatever strength and weapon specialization bonuses he might get. So that's a lot of damage. And sometimes it can even be an instant kill. But usually there are masses of enemy around and you just move on. But so anyway, here we go. This is how to identify get a broken bone or whatever. Again, on a massive hit, say a fire giant scores a critical hit against a warrior, and you know it's going to be something like around 30 points of damage. I forget what the giant does. Just bear with me here. I roll percentile dice 1 through 50, and instead of the broken bone chance, it will be armor, shield, equipment, weapon, chance for destruction. We'll choose something on the character by random, and that piece of equipment will have to make a save versus crushing blow. Or if I roll 51 to 100, I'll check. I've got a die that shows me parts of the body, and I will make a roll with that, and that player's character will have to make a constitution check. Otherwise, he'll have a broken bone, and I will have to penalize him through the combat, or he can play dead or whatever. But it's just, giants are very difficult. They should be difficult. Again, things like dragons, their bulk. I've got a few tables that I've made. The dragons can lunge and try to get atop and lay atop characters if they can't get out of the way in time. So there's a chance for them just sitting on them, slowly crushing them to death. There's all sorts. You can consider that a grapple or whatever by a dragon. So it's nasty business being an adventurer. And I guarantee you combat is interesting. Healing spells, stress fractures, and about 40% of all broken bones can be cured by ordinary healing spells. See identifying broken bones above. For all other broken bones, if a healing spell is used over a complicated unset fracture, the bones are healed, but in an awkward, clumsy way. This can cripple or cause pain, scarring, or make the bone prone to re-break again. The single exception to this is the mighty 6th level heal spell, which wipes away all injury completely. So, again, you don't have to bring this into your game. This is something that adds a little bit more spunk to the battles, realism. fear from players. They might have, +2, +3 equipment and do incredible amounts of damage, but this can lay anybody low depending on what they're fighting and just interesting combats can arise from stuff like this. It's not unfair. You've got wizards, you've got clerics, you've got other people that are there to help the fighters out. No one wants to be crippled. And if you're fighting creatures like giants and dragons and everything of this magnitude, then you should have either potions that are the equivalent of, healing spells that can heal all wounds, or your wizards and clerics should be able to do their jobs and help fighters out that get into trouble like this. Now, broken equipment, like say you lose a +3 sword, which is very difficult, I might add. I think anything over a 1 or a 2 will just about make it versus crushing blow. So you really have to be unlucky to lose a weapon like that. I hope you enjoyed this, and good day. Enjoy.